Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, 4 weeks of famous philosophers after quite a hiatus. In this video we're going to be looking at Friedrich Nietzsche, killer of God, inventor of the Ubermensch, and prophet of nihilism. Let's take a look. So, Friedrich Nietzsche was an influential and often misinterpreted German philosopher. He challenged many value systems and methodologies of his time in the interest of moving past them. Now, Nietzsche was, as noted, often misinterpreted or misunderstood, and it took some time for philosophers to really go back to his work and understand what he was talking about and the true power and influence of some of the things that he said. For example, though his Superman or Ubermensch is often likened to a Nazi Aryan master race, or often claimed that Nietzsche's ideas or works of that were used as a justification for the things the Nazis did. In fact, he was speaking more kind of an Aristotelian man of virtue. But this confusion, of course, arose because of the posthumous publication of an altered version of his works by his sister, who was in fact a Nazi and wanted to use her brother's philosophy as a justification for the rise of Nazism. He is also often misunderstood as a staunch advocate of nihilism, simply because nihilism is so closely associated with Nietzsche, when in fact he simply predicted that a descent into nihilism was inevitable and argued that we should move through and past it quickly. He didn't want us to stay in kind of this nihilistic world of nothingness and skepticism. He wanted us to move past it. We're not going to cover all of Nietzsche's philosophy in this video. We're just going to hit the big points of kind of the Ubermensch and his ideas about nihilism. So, first off, an explanation of his life. Nietzsche was born the son of a Protestant minister in 1844. His father died when Nietzsche was 5 from a brain condition, and his brother died 6 months later. Being fatherless gained him a scholarship to the Schlupfpforte, a well-recognized school, and he received a professorship at the University of Basel at the young age of 24, before he had even done a dissertation. Unfortunately, after an accident on a horse and several bouts with disease, he was forced to retire at age 35. From then until 1889, he traveled around Europe writing and searching for climates conducive to his failing health. He had problems with his eyesight. He had a number of health problems that plagued him throughout his life. He suffered a mental break in 1889, and it is said that this happened when he collapsed after trying to protect a horse from a beating. He sawed across the square, ran to the horse, threw his arms around it to protect it from the beating, and then collapsed. He gained acknowledgement and fame in the last 10 years of his life, though ironically, due to his deteriorating mental health, it is doubtful that he ever realized it. And he died in 1900 of a stroke. So, in terms of nihilism, Nietzsche famously claimed that God is dead. If you're aware of any quote by Nietzsche, you're probably aware of the quote, "God is dead." Now, this didn't symbolize kind of a physical death of a deity. Nietzsche wasn't claiming that there's some corpse up there in heaven of God, or that someone's gone up and killed God, but rather the demise of the Christian worldview and morality in favor of a more secular, scientific, and logical worldview. This is the time period where people are coming up with alternative explanations for morality, alternative explanations for the origins of humans and people. So all of these building scientific and secular pressures led Nietzsche to predict that God is dead, that the Christian worldview is dying, and we need something to replace it. Nietzsche argued that with the fall of the standing morality, we would devolve into nihilism, which is a kind of skepticism with a particular destructive or irreverent tone. Though Nietzsche argued against these traditional religions and metaphysical modes of interpretation, he did not want us to permanently descend into nihilism, but rather to temporarily move through it as a way of abolishing old dogma. This is a common confusion because Nietzsche often talks about we're going into nihilism or we should move into nihilism. Well, His point is that we should move through nihilism as a path to the other side, and we need to destroy or tear down all of these old structures of the previous ideologies before we can build something new up. It's interesting to note that Nietzsche did not merely challenge ideas of religion, but classic ideas of truth and morality as well. Now, in order to fill this void left by nihilism, Nietzsche hoped that we could rise to a higher level of humanity through superhumans, or overmen, or Ubermensches. This was not meant to be a justification, for example, of the racial purification advocated by the Nazis, or kind of a master race, but rather an incitement to foster people who were able to rise above both the dogmas of the past and nihilism to create new values and a new morality based on naturalistic ideals. The idea was not that some people or some races are naturally better than others, but rather that we should endeavor to rise above common impulses towards conformity to be higher men through cultural enrichment. That was Friedrich Nietzsche, killer of God, inventor of the Ubermensch, and prophet of nihilism. Next up, we're going to be looking at Gottlob Frege. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org. Stay tuned. We're not going to be able to do them every single day, but we are going to be able to do them every single week at least to finish up our 4 weeks of famous philosophers. Stay skeptical, everybody.